Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Incompetent Nerds. I'm your host, Tank, along with my buddy Mark. Hey, Mark.
How we doing? How we doing?
Doing pretty well. And another special guest. You guys know him. He's constantly on the show. He still owes me a check. Welcome, D'Angelo.
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Mark, I've been wanting to
Wonderful.
work with you.
Oh, yeah, no,
Like
I'm excited,
forever.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so now it's all of us. So let's do
It's
it.
all,
I'm
yeah, it's
excited.
Yeah,
the
D's been
Holy
wanting.
Trinity.
D's been wanting to work with you for the longest.
I appreciate that. I feel honored in some sort of weird way.
Yep. To get started, D requested us that we do this podcast, especially that it is I don't even consider it like a touchy subject. It's just like it's a real subject. So
Okay.
the subject D was talking to me about off air. This was before a few days before, was basically growing up poor. You know, I had my experience with it. D has experience with it. Mark was the rich one out of all of us, so Mark, you know I was gonna throw that in there.
You're really good supporter of empathy, I can tell.
Oh yeah, I'm great. So I'll go ahead and let our special guest begin with his growing up poor.
Well, well, I guess to be honest, I'm gonna keep it cool. We wasn't really necessarily poor though, but we lived in like a very poor community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, yeah. So my dad was a construction worker, and my mom was the head of like the housekeeping and like Hilton Hotel. So
Oh,
the
okay.
money coming in, we were pretty good. It's like we
hmm
never really, I mean, we had tough times and stuff like that, sure, but looking at the environment, you just kind of see, all of the differences that was going on around us.
Yeah.
And it also
So,
takes a toll on you. Yeah.
right. So I guess what was it? I mean, what do you remember growing up from that standpoint in terms of
Well,
like things you wanted, I guess, versus what you had to work for?
right. Well, with me, my mom, well, she just worked basically, 6 days out of the week.
hmm
And no, it's just that basically having friends around, you just notice that they don't have all of the basic things that you have. They
Right.
don't have consistent, food coming in and clothes whenever they want it and stuff like that. And that kind of warps your mind a little bit.
How so?
Well, it kind of warps it because you think that life is one way, but once you go
hmm
outside, it's just a completely different type of thing.
hmm
And it just makes you think. But I had something on here. I guess it's like the second checkpoint was poverty and need evil. And what do you all think?
I mean, so in what you're describing, like, I mean, I've always been thankful and blessed enough to, not have that problem and not really see it too visibly. I lived in a pretty suburban, pretty white community my whole life, but
Mhm.
I guess the thing that resonates with me in talking about that is like since I mean my mom was a single mom and so I was in daycare a lot or with my grandmother. So from a very early age I was taught like, and I was an only child, so I was like, you gotta make friends, dude. Like you gotta be a social butterfly and like you gotta get out there. So like
Right.
by doing that I was sort of able to see other cultures and sort of like how people are different. And some people have brothers and sisters, some people have one parent, some people, everybody grows up differently.
Sure.
But it's all in how we sort of respond to people. I mean, that was probably very early on. I probably was taught like respect and understanding. People have different values, people have different beliefs, and you got to respect them because that's the only way you're going to interact with people in the world. So I mean, I
Right.
guess that was a good thing in and of itself, but obviously when you're little, it doesn't feel like you're getting what you want if you're missing something or you're having to work harder than somebody else does.
Right. Yeah, that definitely is true.
But if it's, I mean, as a necessary evil, I think like it's a really hard question because obviously like you look at capitalism, somebody always has to lose, right? Like
Yeah.
Right.
there's always somebody has to either lose money or make money in a certain like setup. You know, you buy a product, you sell a product, whatever. It either helps people, it hurts people, helps the environment, hurts the environment, whatever. So I mean, it's really hard to say that it's it's not necessary, you know, because it definitely is. But at the same time, you know, if you look globally around the world, there's not many places where everybody has close to an equal chance of, you know, being successful.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why I wanted to bring up the question on the cast because I feel like with capitalism, poverty is built inside of the actual system itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh, and every other system has been tried as far as socialism, communism, and everything else, but it looks like all of those other systems fail.
Yeah.
And it seems like, a capitalist society is the only system to thrive pretty much or to last, well, to have longevity.
Yeah, I mean the only yeah, and the thing that like that I always try to I guess instill in people around me is like in our society, your loudest voice is your wallet. Every
Ah,
purchase you make,
I agree with that.
everything that comes out of your pocket, that's your voice. And people don't think about it very often, right? But I mean, just take a simple example like fast food. Obviously, fast food, for better or worse, it is what it is, but they make some products that are terrible for your body, right? But we all eat it
right,
because it's great. So if you decide I'm gonna start demanding more of my fast food and making healthier choices, and you start putting your money towards healthy choices, then certain eventually over time you're gonna see more healthy choices on a menu, or you're gonna see one company make more money and one company lose money because they adapt to what your purchase habit is.
right. And well, going back onto the unhealthy foods and things like that, I think that we need to educate people more on basically the effects, the back end and front end on things. Because food is basically is for nourishment, but people don't look at it as what's the back end, what's the problems that are actually wrong with fast food. So sure, it's like it's far more convenient. Some communities only have gas stations and they don't have grocery stores, so I pretty much
Right.
get it. So then they rely on junk food and things like that, and it's also cost effective.
Right.
However, the back end of that is pretty much like you're basically, how do I word this? You're basically giving up your life. You're reducing your lifespan
Right.
over some false type of nourishment.
Yeah, definitely. Are you familiar with the term like food desert?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tang, you want to explain?
A food desert. It is a term used for in certain communities, mostly in low end communities or impoverished communities where you cannot buy fresh food, as in fresh produce, vegetables and fruits, also fresh meats as well.
Mm-hmm.
So think of like your local Whole Foods, your Jules Oscos, your uh,
Albertsons,
Mariano's,
Ralph's,
all types of
Barnes
places.
Right.
on the
Hmm.
West Coast. Yeah, exactly. I mean, a
All
big
these Trader
one.
Joe's too.
Yeah, exactly. A big one that you guys are probably familiar with, everybody's heard it, South Central Los Angeles is probably one of the worst food deserts in the country. I don't
Oh
want to
wow.
say but because of the crime rate, because of the income level, and because of just essentially where it's located and the type of people that live there, grocery stores don't even want to move in because they gotta pay, security guards, they gotta have cameras, they gotta lock the doors after 6, 7 o'clock, so they don't even bother going in there. So
Yeah.
yeah, all that's there is like you're at gas stations or like mini marts that like overcharge, or maybe you'll see like a thing of bananas at 7-Eleven, but like that's about it. So that's one of the things that we should educate people on changing for sure.
Yeah, but then, well, back to the question of poverty, is it a needed evil?
Mm-hmm.
And since we're looking at it, that it does appear that it's already built inside of the system. So then I'm just, I don't know, my brain always just been firing about this question is pretty much that.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's already built into our system, then why would you help people that are in poverty? Because it's already a part of the infrastructure. You see where I'm
Mm-hmm.
coming from? Like,
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that
yeah.
Yeah.
that dark side of capitalism?
Yeah,
Because
Tank,
you
you
need
got
somebody to
thoughts?
lose.
Right.
And you also need a tax break to help fix that loss. That guy who lost.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think for me, the it's more of at that point it's an intrinsic motivation. Like that on the same example of South Central, there's this really cool guy. He runs this literally this like food stand out of his front yard in his mom's front yard. It's called All Flavor No Grease. He makes, Mexican food, but he's this big
No,
black
that's
guy.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, people travel hundreds of miles, and there's lines and stuff. But what the craziest thing is, 103rd, where his place is located, crime rate has actually gone down.
Ah,
It's a very small area and it's very cohesive, but things like, food brings people together. Community, like, things like church, sports bring people together. There's all these different things that people can come together for and sort of put differences aside, and then everybody gets better, right? But I
right.
think when you look at it from a capitalism perspective, yeah, a company's not going to want to come in and build buy the rent and build a store and make a parking lot and staff it and all that.
Yeah.
But when you do it in those communities on a smaller basis, you're able, in my opinion, to reach more people.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes a lot of sense.
But I mean, it's hard, right? I mean, people move. Like, I mean, not to make it like super racial, but like white people don't want to live in South Central, right?
Right.
For its obvious reasons. So they
True.
move to a place where there's more white people, and then all that does is it doesn't make their community better. It just makes, you know, the problem farther away. And then eventually you have two problems.
Right. Yeah. And I also looked at a recent study was basically showing that when basically right, not to be racial, but when white people move into those more poor neighborhoods,
Right.
it actually becomes less it becomes less criminal or violent.
Right.
So I think that a little diversity in Chicago. Well, I'm not sure, Mark, if you've been in Chicago, but it's a very segregated city.
He has. I took him
Yeah, I
around.
mean, I
Okay.
even I even noticed it in Logan Square because I stayed with Tank. Like, I mean, it seemed Logan Square seemed on the pillar of gentrification, and it seemed very quiet and very out of the way. But it seemed that way on purpose. Like people had once moved there, and now they had to leave because of rent or whatever. But
Yeah.
you definitely can see it when you look hard.
Yeah, because it's basically black people, our neighbors around black people, and then the same goes for every single culture throughout Chicago, which is bizarre to me.
Hmm.
It's just this tribalism to like the 100th degree.
It is.
Yeah.
What was it? There was that rumor or a story that when Martin Luther King came to Chicago, he instantly left because he saw how Chicago really did use segregation and it worked, unlike how it was in the southern states. How each
Hmm.
part of the neighborhoods were separated by basically every race. You had Irish folks on one side, Scots, Hispanics, blacks, Italians. Everybody had their own part of the own part of the city, and it was just fully segregated.
Yeah.
One of the only diverse neighborhoods in Chicago is Rogers Park. Uh,
Why?
don't know why. It is up north. You have that is the only neighborhood, and I think it's I want to say it's split up into two different neighborhoods because there's Rogers Park
Hmm.
East and West, and if you combine it as a whole, it's larger than one of the other largest neighborhoods. I think Inglewood is pretty up there in terms of size.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But Rogers Park, you have a bunch of Middle Easterns, blacks, whites, and some Hispanics up there. So it's somewhat diverse, and a lot of folks are actually moving in there. Recently, I was looking at apartments. I was just doing some apartment shopping, just looking around, and I seen that there's a lot of places. It's just in Rogers Park, but even in Rogers Park, some of those places, some of the neighborhoods are a little iffy.
Yeah.
I've been up there walking around by myself, and I've seen some shit.
Yeah. I mean, what do
Wow.
you? I guess I'll start with you, D. What do you think is like? How do you define that solution?
I don't know. I I don't know what it could necessarily be because it's already built inside the system already.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the only way to fix things is to try to create a new, better, and improved system
Mm-hmm.
where poverty isn't the needed evil in order for it to run.
Right.
But I don't think, I don't think in our lifetime we're going to be able to figure out what a new system would be and apply it within our
Somebody's
lifetime.
already working on it. Not to cut you off, D, but in terms
Yeah.
of a new society, there's this one futurist. I forgot his name. I think he's Swedish or German, but he's a futurist,
Hmm.
and his idea of a future society is all about automation. Humans don't work for shit. We just enjoy our lives, and that's it. Procreate, enjoy your lives, do what you want to do. That's it. You don't work. You don't. There's no such thing as money, and machines create all the things that's necessary for human life. For humans to live and indulge and enjoy. And then while using all societies that currently here, for example, capitalism, communism, fascism, socialists, feudal, everything. Like he went down through all societies throughout human history, even if that meant going backwards, to see which one of these societies will fit with this new future of automation. None has fit.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
None has fit, especially capitalism. We work for a living. We trade our time for money. We trade our time to a company for money, and they pay us. Well, we trade our time to a company to work, and they pay us in money. So we're giving them our time. They're giving us their cash. Boom, done. And then within that capitalism society, you earn that money to do whatever the fuck you want with it. Be it purchase legal or illegal goods is up to you. What you do with that money,
Right.
especially if you get caught or not, is up to you. Now, when it comes to poverty, because I want to, give my 2 cents on this. I feel
Yeah.
like poverty is not a needed evil. It's built into the. I can't for save is truly is built into the system. When capitalism was first established, it was established in London. Well,
Hmm.
during the British Empire and all this exploration and how the feudal ways, the monarchs were slowly getting phased out, and this new capitalistic
Yeah.
society started coming in where, crap, I'm making money, working, getting money, and I could buy whatever the hell I want with this money. Capitalism started to form, and it started to grow
Right.
and get bigger and bigger, especially trade, markets, things of that nature. So I felt like it was seen as this is a great way to get people out, but also some other folks found ways to benefit themselves using capitalism, how to make
Hmm.
themselves rich, and how they're able to do this and that. Um, like all the families we heard of, like all these great families, for example, like J.P. Morgan. Oh crap, there goes my phone. Like J.P. Morgan, the Rockefellers, like they all came.
Schwab, everybody.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
all came from nothing, and they all blew the fuck up.
Right.
And that's because they learned how to, the banking, the oil industries, the mining, all this other stuff. You could say they started from the bottom, came to the top, and they were
Right.
using capitalism as their way to get up there. They didn't come from like noble families. They weren't like from a line of rich people. They just fucking
Right.
came. They
True.
just, they had the dream, and boom, they made it happen. Nowadays, the Rockefeller name, the Morgan name, like it's like, oh, evil, cross,
Exactly.
the cross fingers
Mm-hmm.
and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people don't do it inherently, right? You don't
No,
start a company and say like, "Oh, I'm going to ruin the environment. Oh, I'm going to like take away these
no.
people's jobs," right?
Right. Yeah.
Everybody is inherently good, or
Yeah.
if you want to get on
Especially,
that
No,
debate,
I
that's
agree
like
with that. Yeah.
especially look at,
independent.
for example, like automation. First time they started making the robotic arms to making cars for the car industry, nobody thought they were gonna remove. They didn't think they were probably gonna remove jobs. They just thought like, yo, we could make money
We can make this faster, yeah.
by making having
Hmm.
them make cars faster, making us more.
Hmm.
They'll be buying our products to doing that. That's boom. So the car company saw, okay, this robotic arm, this assembly line of robotic arms can make 100 cars within 4 hours. Let's say.
Right. Yeah.
All right, cool. But the normal guy the normal 100 people that we have in line can only make 20 cars in 4 hours.
Right.
Let's get rid of those people. Boom, and then put these machines. It'll be cheaper for us. They get their money, and we just lost more labor. We just lost the labor work because we have the arms. Now, it's like you said. Like somebody has to lose. So there's always going to be a winner.
Hmm.
There's always going to be a loser in capitalism. I think that's why
Yeah.
most modern millennials and Gen Z just don't like capitalism.
We're not on
Because
board. Well, it's
they were all given participation trophies and medals.
yeah.
That's
And then
Right.
my
they made
jab
a.
at them because I didn't grow up with that shit.
But you're a millennial and you have a podcast.
Hey, I didn't grow up. Hey, before you get there, I didn't grow with participant medals and freaking trophies and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and Tank are the same age. I never experienced that either. You had to really work for your trophy.
Yeah,
Right, but I do think you guys are. I do think you guys are a part of it, and you live in a time where, to me, the people who are successful and the people who fail is determined by one thing: can you adapt? Can you learn something new? Can you take
yeah,
feedback from people? The people who are willing to change are the ones who are successful, in my opinion, because the world is already going to change. Like, you
You're
have a
right.
supercomputer in your pocket, and can you imagine how rocket scientists felt 60 years ago if someone walked up to them and told them that, right?
Right. It'll
Like,
blow their mind.
because they had a supercomputer the size of a fucking bedroom.
right, people have to be willing to change, and to me, the only way that starts is with one person. You have to go to one person who has less than you, and you have to say, I want to help you. It doesn't have to be financially. Some people who can provide financially, they do that with, nonprofits and whatnot, but
Yeah, D, where's my
you
check?
know but things that you care about, it's like not necessarily an obligation, but it's sort of a duty to share with the world, not because you're being selfish and you get rewarded for it, but that the fact that somebody might be listening and or need your help and you don't know they're out there, or you don't know what they look like.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that raises a question with me because there's also a bad stigma with being successful and things like that.
you have.
And if you're successful and you're helping somebody that has less or they're poor or any of those other things,
Hmm.
that person in that person's community could perceive you as you're trying to basically show your dominance and things like that. Or there's also a lot of pushback too. People will give you pushback when you're trying to come down and
Is
reach
somebody
out and try
messing
to
with
help other
paper? I'm
people.
sorry.
Not me.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry, D. Go
All
ahead,
right.
keep going.
Yeah, no, so I just feel like even if you're on the successful side trying to help somebody else that's not as successful in that particular field or area, that person could also receive a lot of pushback from certain communities and stuff like that too. So it's like, okay, if I help, I get shit. But if I don't help, then I know that things are just going to remain the same and nothing's going to happen.
Right.
So,
I
so I
had
thought,
not thought about that at all. Do you have
yeah,
an example? Has that happened to you?
no, well, not with me in particular, but with Bill Gates. So Bill Gates, he was basically went on this entire campaign where he was basically trying to give everybody in Africa clean water. So he was looking
Hmm.
for all of these alternatives as to how to actually do it.
Hmm.
So then I believe a girl came up with an invention where she could just basically put a straw inside of any type of dirty water and sip it, and then it will basically filter all of the bad bacteria and stuff like
Right.
that.
Oh, the life
So
straws. He started
yeah,
that?
Yeah. Well, I believe it was somebody else that created it, but then he brought that in there as a, you know, to solve
Well, he funded
the
it,
dirty
right?
water issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, he funded it. So people were giving Bill Gates shit because it was like he's basically doing that so he could try to establish control within Africa. He wants his hand in there so he could get some resources out. So it's like people kind of created this whole bad idea of him trying to go in there and help other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I mean, that could be a lot of things, right? That could be people being jealous. That could be speculation. But I mean, at the end of the day, your actions define who you are. If he goes in there, gives the straws out, and then nothing happens because he was just trying to do a good thing, then like you can't really fault a guy for making the world a better place, right?
Yeah.
It's sort
Right.
of, I think we always have to check people in terms of their intent, but I mean, when you have the money like he does, I don't think he needs to be malicious
True.
anymore because he's got it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's already successful. He already got what he got now.
As
Yeah.
I like to say, you don't need to play Monopoly twice.
Oh, I fucking love that. That's a great goddamn quote.
Thank you.
That's gonna be the name of this title of this
All
episode.
right.
Yeah. Boom,
No.
we got the title. We're good now.
Oh yeah. Let's see what else I could lead on. Learning from other cultures. So we'll move on to that subject. So we discussed it, poverty, some diversity. Mark established that, we had a gentleman who was cooking food in his mother's place, just selling it, and was bringing in a lot of people from all over. You said, right?
Yeah.
So that shows you like he has some, and the best part about it is like it was a black dude cooking Mexican food.
Right.
You know damn well he learned well from the culture. You know damn well he loves the food.
Right.
So I want to say like learning from other cultures. Like, what is your experience on that end, Mark? Since you are the teacher among us, and you deal with deal with multiple students and families. What has learning from other cultures taught you?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well, what the interactions have taught you with
Right.
multicultural families.
I'll start from the beginning. So when I was little, I mean, California, everybody knows, super liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's go with the flow here. I'm go with the flow. It's sort of we have great weather. It's embedded in people's personalities. When I was little, like I didn't give a crap if someone was gay. I didn't give a crap if they knew how to do math or didn't know how to do math. I was trying to find someone to play some baseball with or play frisbee with or whatever. You
Right.
know,
Exactly. Yeah.
I never learned discrimination because I never experienced it.
Right.
So, when people experience it, I get how that changes your perception. But now as I've gotten older, I've gotten to interact with I'm going to put this lightly and say white people that are more well off than I am in terms of their net worth, and they when you think about it, they don't really attack or deal with their lives any different than you and I might. They just they don't have to work for a living, and that's to
Right.
say like they still have the same problems with their kids. They still have to find their self identity. They still have to struggle to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Mhm.
They still maintain their relationships positively and negatively, socially. So people. It doesn't matter where you go. People aren't that different.
Right.
But in terms of culture, what I notice is that there are very few things in life that all humans do enjoy. For me, a couple of them that I've always recognized across cultures are food,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mhm.
that brings people together. I don't care who you are, where you're at, how old you are, how much money you got, but like someone cooks you a meal, someone serves it to you, you celebrate something with alcohol, without alcohol, like that food literally brings people together in every way, shape, or form. Um,
True.
Another one would be music, because music is very cross cultural. It has different styles, different energies, different, you know, different lifestyles, whatever you want to, however you want to define it. But
Mhm.
everybody has ears where they work. So you can literally listen to anything you want. Nobody can stop you. Nobody can, you know, force you to listen to one thing or the other. But again, you're a product of your environment, right? So most people
Right.
listen to what they hear when, they couldn't decide. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are my big two of how cultures sort of come together.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Tank?
For me, goes back growing up. My neighborhood was predominantly just Hispanics and blacks.
Mhm.
Um, More Hispanics, and that was due to one side of Logan Square being mostly Hispanics, while down the boulevards, it was mainly middle, like upper middle class to upperclassmen living in these huge mansions. Um, so I really never interacted with anybody who was white. It was usually just Hispanics and black kids just growing up. But for me, it was different. I did go through racism. I did go through like even racial fights with other Hispanics and other like black kids. So a lot of words were used to degrade each other. For example, I am Puerto Rican and I will fight, with Mexican kids and call them names and they'll call me names. And
Yeah.
it was always like that growing up. Not always, it was just like that growing up, just having those struggles. But as I started getting older, I started to be you could say, taught to hate white people.
Interesting.
And interesting, right,
I was
Mark?
the same way. My
Mm-hmm.
culture was the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but as I got older, it was just put on me. Like it was like hit on the, it was told to me the words to say, or the white devil and this and that.
Mhm.
But as I gotten older, it was just more like, I'm not that type of person. I'm never, never was. Even though I had my share of fights, I encountered racism the first time when I was 13, when I was 14 years old, out in, oh crap, what's the neighborhood? Damn it. D, give me a hand here. You know the neighbor, the suburb, Cicero, Illinois.
I have no idea.
Oh, you suck.
But you don't need
Berwyn,
to know.
Berwyn.
Berwin. Ah, okay, I know what that is. Yeah.
Back in the day, Berwyn was predominantly white. Now it's a
Mm-hmm.
mixture of Hispanics, whites, and a few blacks. But back in the day, it was just a lot of white folks, and that was the first time I encountered racism.
In
Wow.
terms of the opposite way,
Yeah,
or
like towards me with me and white kids actually
in did,
fighting,
so
arguing,
but like
fighting.
why were they? I guess why were they violent is my question. Just because of.
No, it was what kicked it all off was we were at a friend's house and it's just us kids just playing around in the backyard and we were jumping the fence and that fence was to my friend's house. We were in the alley. He locked us out like an idiot and we were jumping the fence. So my sister was jumping the fence and we see these kids laughing and we noticed they were pointing a laser pointer. They were pointing a laser at my sister's butt and they were laughing the whole time. So
Mm-hmm.
we kind of got like a little rowdy with them. They kind of got rowdy with us. And then they started to get more uh racial. So we're like, okay, you want to bring race into this? We did the exact same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it
Right.
almost broke out to a big fight. It was three of us and three of them,
Mm-hmm.
and to the point that cops were called. There was literally like 4 cop cars,
Wow.
and
That's
the
crazy.
fucked up part was many of them were on. All these cops were getting on us.
Right.
Right.
So lucky for us, we got out of there without any arrests, any nothing like that. Plus, we were just a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
kids. Um,
Right.
Another time was in Joliet, and where we were going to a pool in Joliet. I was with my father, and his brother lived out there,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a membership to a country club. So we're going through the country club, and we're playing. About to get in the pool, and it was the adult time, the adult swim.
Mm-hmm.
And to find out they did that right after we got there, and one of the ladies told my father's girlfriend saying we don't allow spics in this place.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So my father's girlfriend just straight like grabbed me and said we gotta go. I was like, why? To find out later what that bitch said.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep, that was a second time, and it was just crazy. Like encounter these. Um, that's just my experiences. Like, you know, you could say like, well, why were you raised not to like, white folks? It's like, well, when you deal with these experiences with mainly white folks, it's like, yeah, where,
Yeah, you're gonna get
Yeah, you
biased.
get
yeah,
it.
My
Yeah.
mom, my mom told me a story. She traveled to Florida once, and this was at a Hilton hotel. She was like, "Yo, can I get something to eat? Is there something to eat close by?" And the lady was like, "Yeah, there's a McDonald's, just like right up the road." And she's like, "But you don't want to eat there." And my mom was like, "Why?" And she was like, "There's black people that work there." And my mom was like, "So?"
Wow.
And I verbatim, my mom said the lady this lady's response was like, "You're not from around here, are you?" And she was like, "No, I'm from California." And she's like, "Oh." Like that's I mean to me, these stories just blow my mind, man, that like that even exists in like the 20th century. I mean, I know it does. I'm not ignorant, but
yeah,
Right.
it's just crazy that, people still deal with that.
yeah. And it's still
Yeah.
like, and it's still around, it's still prominent. Like, you hear shit now, it's like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah. People are all shocked when things happen, or like there's people out there that like, or what is it called, the alt-right.
Yep.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, you guys are idiots if you think like they weren't living their lives like and just got smarter on their own. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh,
There's one
you're
thing I can't
100% right.
stand in terms of politically is the alt right and the fucking ultra left. Like, I can't stand both those motherfuckers.
I don't like extremes of anything,
Me
to
neither.
be
Right.
honest with you.
Right. And that's back to adapting.
Yeah.
That's how you get better, is like you have to be able to look at somebody else and say, I understand why you feel that way. For example, I went to school in Arizona and I lived, I've seen the border. I took a run across like on adjacent parallel to the border, and like I had some problems with border patrol, but as a white guy. But I mean, I've also met a guy who, saved up thousands of dollars, because he wanted a brand new Ram, and the day he drives it off the lot, he gets hit in an intersection by an undocumented immigrant with no insurance. So
Wow.
yeah, I get why he cares about having a secure border, because it affects him, and I get why he
Yeah,
has a gun to protect himself, because like he doesn't know the person getting out of the car like what they're gonna do. So
exactly.
I understand all that. I don't agree with it, and I choose not to live there. But I'm not mad at the guy for having his beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because after all of our experiences create, our perception of the world.
Yep.
Right,
That is how it works.
right,
But
and
I
that's
got,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead, Mark.
Well, that's why I think when it comes to like dealing with poverty, you have to do your best, to try to understand what it's like in their shoes, and try to understand how you can help, either actively helping or passively. I mean, even just you know, I haven't lived in those neighborhoods, so I wouldn't know. But like, just
Yeah,
making sure the kid gets on the bus to school, or your neighbor's kid gets on the bus, or maybe, making sure he gets home okay, or whatever it is, kind of thing.
right. Yeah. And I guess my experience with learning from other cultures. So, my mentor, well, one of my top mentors, he's German,
Mm-hmm.
and I met him when I first experienced some racism when I was at this company. I'm not going to say the company's name. I don't want to, create
Yeah,
chaos or nothing like that.
Home
we're
Depot.
definitely we're definitely private on the
Yeah,
cast when it comes to shouting people out.
right. So,
I already fucked up. We're already getting sued.
Right. It's all right. It happens. Y'all just gonna get this lawsuit.
You
Right.
want to take that out? But go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So I interned at this really big place. This is when me and Tank actually met because we was in this tech program together.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I went here, and well, matter of fact, it may not even be a racist experience. It could just be an asshole experience. So
Sure. See, you're not even sure. That's how like blurred it is. But go ahead.
Could have been both.
right. So basically, it was just a long line because we have a cafeteria within the building that we work, and I believe it's probably like my fourth week there as being an intern, or maybe like 2 months in or something like that. So it's a long line of people in the line. This white guy, he comes in and he just gets in front of me and just places his order. So I'm just politely just tapped him on the shoulder, and I was like, "Hey, there's a line. You gotta get to the back of it." And he said, "Oh, you must not want to work here." And I was like, "Oh shit, okay."
Somebody
So
don't want to
then,
catch these hands.
right. But then I was super polite about it. I was like, "Hey, I get it. You're probably in a rush or something like that, but everybody else has stuff to do as well, and you can't just butt in everybody."
Mm-hmm.
So then he just went to the back of the line for a little bit, and then he just darted off. First things first, I told my manager, and my manager was so fucking pissed. He was like, "Who? Did you get his name?" Like he's super aggressive, trying to figure out everything.
Right.
So yeah, I didn't know his name or anything like that. But then one of the guys I used to work with, because he used to basically be like a liaison for like the program and this particular company.
Mm-hmm.
I told him the story, and then immediately he got pissed and he was like, and he just started describing the guy. He was like, "I know who the fuck you're talking about. I'm about to cuss his ass out." So come to find out, the guy that said you must not want to work here, he was head of like the finance department, like kind of like underneath the CFO type of guy.
Sure.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. So, uh, my
Hey, I'm gonna laugh
mentor, he
if
basically,
he's listening to this episode right now that he's a fan of the Competent Nerds.
yeah, but he basically he went to his office, cussed his ass out, and then like a week later, I had to. The dude invited me to the office. He was apologizing, saying that the circumstances he was under. He just basically gave me this whole story of, hey,
Right. So exactly
something
what you
bad
said.
happened at home. Yeah, right. But he was just looking at it as he had some shit going on outside of work that kind of pissed him off, shit like that, and it just got him to be rude and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's like I get it, even though come to find out later, that's what he's known for doing is being an asshole to that degree.
Right. So
But
yeah.
yeah, he's an asshole to everybody. But but I guess in through my experiences, I just seen the good and the bad of other cultures.
Yeah.
I think
Same.
It's
that's
like the
a.
German guy is still my mentor till this day.
Mm-hmm.
And this time around, I'm going through the hardest 2 months of my life now because I basically, let's see, investments are at zero now. I had to basically spend all of my money to survive within these last 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been fucking hard. But you want to know what my mentor told me? The German guy?
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "That's just fucking life." He was like, "I've been bankrupt 2 times. I've
Damn.
been, divorced three, and I got to give two of my wives alimony every month until they die." He was like, "It's wins and fucking losses."
He's looking at the brighter
And
side of
he
life.
and he's a rich man. He has a really nice house. Has a whole new family. Has a piano. Like everything is great. But he was just trying to tell me that everybody has to go through something bad.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works.
Right. So that's a great transition to how to overcome obstacles. How do you answer that? Either one of you.
Don't be a dick.
I like that
Yeah,
answer. That's low key a good answer.
No, low
yeah,
key.
low key.
It's for me. Okay, how to overcome obstacles is for me. Analyze your obstacle, understand what the hell it is, and just get around it, go over it, under it, through it. It doesn't matter. You want to understand what the hell's your obstacle is and get around it. throughout that process, you don't want to be an asshole towards others, especially loved ones, friends, people who are also trying to help you, guide you, or assist you to get over or through or under that damn obstacle. So for me, yelling that out, don't be a dick, it's basically that. I've been in situations where I didn't know how or how to get through something because it was a difficult time, and the only thing I could just be is as an asshole. And then at the end of it, I just felt even more shittier because I was an asshole.
Right.
So it's more like, if you're struggling, you're going through something, be it financial, relationship, work, pay, your living situations. It's just like, yes, at this particular moment, shit sucks. If you have a plan and you're working towards it and everything's going through just fine, but stuff is still hard, don't be an asshole to others who are willing to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep pushing through.
And I guess one thing that to help people with obstacles is you have to have a definite plan.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with plans. Plans don't always work out to the T how you got it written down exactly.
Nope.
So I think that you have to build a plan around some contingency because you know that things are going to happen. Things are going to screw up. But I just feel like creating a realistic plan and just being consistent and following it every single day, it'll pretty much lead you to where you need to be.
Yeah. A big thing, you learn in teaching, you learn in, your own life is like, where do you want to end up? And then when you have that crystal clear, you just work backwards. How are you going to get there? How long is it going to take? How much time do you need? How much money do you need? How many resources, people, whatever? Who do you need to meet? And then after that, it's just get after it because, living in a world where basically anything is at your fingertips, there's not really an excuse not to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
I can definitely understand when people have obligations, something that I deal with, not personally, but I help people deal with passively is, their financial concerns, right? And it's like, yeah, you couldn't get to your goal, but you spent it on your family or you spent it on, having a roof over your head, those are important too, and you can't lose sight of that. And I think it's hard for people to hear it, but it definitely is true.
Yeah, because shit sucks. And there's this article I was reading about a person that was analyzing over 1 million lives of people that was in the day that lived and died. And he recognized a pattern or a trend because he basically, his family and all of these other group of people, they was interviewing the families throughout this particular time period. And what they realized was that on average, everybody dealt with 3 big crises of their lives, like on average.
Okay.
And he basically had a TED talk saying that based upon everybody, it was roughly around 3 crises. You need to prepare yourself. And to just even accept that a crisis is going to happen.
Yeah.
And that you're not alone. And that's just the realest fucking advice ever.
Right.
Because I feel like whenever we experience these things, we think that we're the only person that it ever happened to.
Right.
But that's such a fucking lie.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a great fucking cast right now.
It's a great cast. But some closing statements before we all close out. Mark, anything you would like to give to close out?
We got one more. We got relationship tips.
We got relationship tips?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
To close out, relationship tips. Relationship tips from D'Angelo, the lover, the lady killer.
Oh my god.
Your girlfriend's gonna listen to this and be like, what the fuck he means by that?
Right. Gonna get my ass kicked, but
I'll be there to record it talking about where else start. Wait, nobody does that anymore.
but me and my girlfriend, we just hit a milestone, which is pretty good. So we've been talking to each other since last August and made it official around December.
Okay.
Congratulations.
And guess what, y'all? We had our first fight.
All right.
Oh,
Wow, you lasted
snap.
6 months.
We made
We made it.
it.
Now he sounds far as hell.
Right, because in relationships, disagreement and stuff is going to happen.
Of
It's
course.
inevitable. But I just wanted to get that first one out the way so I could kind of gauge how things are going to work out.
Yeah.
But when we had
Definitely.
our first argument, one thing I learned with being around my family is sometimes when there's a big disagreement, you just need to let the person cool off first.
Yeah.
That's just what I did. So I let her
Mhm.
cool off for about a day and a half. And then I hit her with like a cute little message. I was like, hey, are we cool? Or do you still think I'm like baby Hitler or whatever? And I had like this little picture, picture of like a baby Hitler. And she was like, yeah, we're cool. So then we just finally talked about everything. And what kind of caused the argument was basically the communication wasn't transparent. So
Right.
then we was basically just had to have that conversation to
Most of
define what
my
clarity was.
arguments are communication based. So I definitely
Right.
resonate with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's super important. Uh, D, I think you would like this. There's an article I recently read of 10 things to talk about your significant other with about your financial decisions before you continue on with a life with them. Because
Oh, wow.
if you think about it, like that encompasses a lot of things. Like how do you think about money? How risk averse are you to investing? What are your goals for retirement? What do you see yourself doing? Do you see yourself retiring, having kids, like blah blah blah, and like just having those conversations like up front sort of help you understand like, okay, the person bought $60 on shampoo, like their health or their beauty must be really important to them, right? Versus like
Right.
something else. So just understanding and having that open line is definitely helpful for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And plus the love languages, which you all talked about before on one of the casts.
Oh,
We
yeah.
That
had,
too.
Yeah.
You got to figure that out. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
And one of the things for the love languages is, as things starts to be serious, if you're dating for some time and things starts to become serious, and before it becomes official, you want to understand the love languages so that you understand. So when you do get in this first fight, and D, for example, your girlfriend's love languages is words of encouragement,
And
and
that
you
is
sending
one of her top one.
and see
Yeah.
you sending her that text message, that
You
cute
killed it.
message and funny, you literally just nailed it. You killed it.
See, I try to give people hugs when they're screaming at my head, and it doesn't always end well. But like that's my only love language. That's my go-to.
Marks likes hugs,
Yeah.
so I think Marks, how many elbows have you gotten to the face because of that?
Way too slaps actually. White girls slap for sure.
Oh shit! I've never been slapped before.
Oh, I have.
This is wonderful. Just like I never got a drink poured on me. That has never happened.
How about hot coffee?
Oof. You got hot coffee.
Back
All three.
back when I was working at McDonald's. Back when I
Yep,
was working
all
at
three.
McDonald's, I had hot coffee. But
Wow.
another thing is not just communication, but also honesty. Honesty is important. Having that
True.
clear communication is great, but also having that honesty and trust within one another, it's a plus. It's a necessary. It's a necessity along there with communication. Because you guys can communicate all you want, but if there's no honesty and trust within that communication, it's just, y'all just BSing each other the whole time.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, I've let girlfriends be co-signed on credit cards. I've let girls have access to credit cards, but I mean, as it's a small thing, but like you think about it, it's like you gotta be able to trust them
Yeah.
if you see a future in it. And they always get thrown off. They're like, wait, like I can have this? And I'm like, what am I? I don't need it. So like, yeah, go do what you gotta do, right?
Hey, Mark, can I
Right.
be your girlfriend? I'll call
Just
you
'cause
every
it's a-
night.
Just because it's a limit doesn't mean my money's in the bank account.
All the women that are listening, all three women, I guess. Contact Mark.
Yeah, all three
Slide it
ladies that
in.
listen to the Incompetent Nerds, please message out to Mark. You want a
Right.
sugar
DM
daddy?
him.
Mark is your boy.
DM him.
D
That's the boy you
straight
get.
DM.
Oh my god.
You want to go faster? Send nudes. Dude, we're about to get Mark in trouble.
Have you guys seen those on Twitter? Those like guys. Oh my god, it's like it's literally like those like get rich quick schemes, but it's like just old guys taking pictures of stacks of cash in their bank account. I'm just like,
God.
oh, it's so gross.
Yeah.
I love the other get rich screen, the quick to get rich schemes are the
Mhm.
I want to help you. Come on,
Oh, I
take my
love
lesson.
those.
I love those. When I watch, like, there's ads and I just watch them. Like, they're like, this is not a scam. I'm hoping. Why would I want to have competition? Like, we figured this out. We're able to do this. One of my favorite ones was, that one guy. He's like, this is my car, but you know what got me here? Books. I read a book a day.
Oh,
That
Ty
guy,
Lopez, I think.
whatever his name is, pisses me off every time I see him. Like, first of all, not everybody likes to read books, and second of all, you're probably gonna get a bunch of people who are just like, I want to be like him. But that guy, he's like, I had $18 in my account, and I read this accounting or finance book, and I started putting everything together, and I have this 18-room mansion and 5 cars. You want to get like me, you got to start reading today. And somebody did a parody off of that, but was also offering lessons to their thing. Like, hey, you want to like my Ferrari? Well, it's not a Ferrari, it's a Volvo. But hey, it works. We get paid to do this, and we want to teach. Bro, I died.
Yeah,
was
it's
like-
definitely. You definitely have to be mindful. Like, there are people who want to monetize
Yeah.
Yeah.
people's failures, right? And it's not always a good thing.
Yeah. And Ty Lopez. I always just found it funny, but his structure, because I actually know somebody that actually pays to get in to learn from him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And essentially, he does help you out to get to what you want, but he's basically like a paid mentor. Which
Right.
I find to be bizarre because I have a mentor that I never have to pay at all,
Right.
Is he
Yeah,
usually
okay.
paying?
Yeah, whenever we go out for like lunch,
Then
and
that's your
stuff,
sugar
he pays for
daddy.
everything. Oh shit, I got a sugar daddy.
Does he take you
Yeah,
out to
'cause-
lunch? Does he buy you drinks every now and then? Does he
He
rub his
didn't buy
fingers
me
through your
drinks.
hair?
He did buy me.
Nah, it's a sugar daddy. That is
Damn,
not
I got a
mentor.
sugar daddy all along.
You about to text your girl, babe, I got a sugar daddy.
Yeah.
What you want? I'm doing this for us. This is us.
All right. I think that's a great place to wrap it up.
Yeah, before we go
This
any
is a
farther.
great place to wrap it
But,
up.
this was a serious subject for everybody that was listening in. And, me and Mark like to make things, when we have serious chats, we like to make things light at the end. That's the reason why I was joking around the way I am. Ain't that right, Mark?
Of course. D, why don't you drop all your socials so people know where to find you once again?
All right, so I'm still pretty off the grid, but you can see me on Instagram. Where it is www.eyfcake. That's where I have my investment website that you can learn from. Also, I have an Instagram and a Facebook. EYFcake.
And your Twitter, right? You still got your Twitter?
Oh yeah, I still got Twitter, Instagram, everything.
Okay.
I have everything.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There you go. I'll definitely add all the links in the description below.
And you can know where to find me and Tank as always. And the show comes out. Yeah. ComicsandNerds@gmail.com. Send us feedback, ideas, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, anything, because we want to know people are alive and like not doing this to silence.
Right.
But thank you guys for listening nonetheless. We appreciate it. And we will, as always, catch you next week.